Hello, welcome, good evening, good morning, and this is Social Q. We have a very special episode for you all today. This one is a bit different because it is actually a continuation of an interview we did with our very special libertarian guest, Cyerra Magers. And because the interview went so well, in fact, we actually ran out of questions and started to have a discussion, so we decided to turn it into a full-length episode. But the interview part is still its own separate thing, so be sure to look out for the release of that here soon enough. Thank you for listening and hope you enjoy.
I even think like something a lot of the libertarians aren't cool with is like the police. Like they're pretty much behind the like abolish police, like not even defund or whatever, totally abolish. And like I could understand like privatizing it, I guess, but like there needs to like
I'm more
like,
for defunding, I guess. But,
more for that. Yeah, I'm more for like reform.
Yeah.
Like I think like something that really makes me like sad is with the Breonna Taylor case, like
it's terrible.
I mean, that was
and they're not even doing anything about it because
the
the local government's so corrupt.
I mean, that's a whole. I've heard some stuff about that.
My girlfriend's from Kentucky. They're like,
really?
Everybody knows how corrupt the police department is and how racist it is.
Oh my gosh!
And they like literally plant drugs in people's car.
That's just like a known thing. That's
horrible. Like they did like a.
What?
So like. I know you probably don't watch Vice, but like Vice actually did like a journalistic, like they're doing some like investigation on it. A former cop of the department, he was a black cop and he left because he realized how bad it was. He was like, yeah, they like literally would do these things called drops where they would literally plant drugs in people's cars and then be like, why do you have this? And then throw them in jail.
That's like that is atrocious.
Yeah, and
that's horrible.
Yeah, and then they went to the mayor and talked to him about it, like, what's going on with the police department? What are you doing about this case? And they're like, well, they were basically just like trying to talk around it, and it was like they're literally not even doing anything. The mayor is like with the police department on this, and they're just trying to cover it up and wait until it blows over.
Well, I agree that we shouldn't let I'm just gonna say that like I think people are calling for the wrong thing, and I think it's like I know you guys have seen just everywhere like to arrest today's a great day or whatever to arrest the cops that murdered Breonna Taylor, and it's like that's like with whenever with the George Floyd case they increased his charge. Like if you want him to actually get convicted, they probably should have stuck with the former charge instead of bringing it up to first degree or second degree or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, It's just like there aren't, to me, I mean, I talked with a lawyer that I know somewhat about this, and I've taken some business law classes, so I'm not trying to say that I know everything, so this is just kind of my take on it, but I feel like it's like there aren't really legal grounds. They didn't, to arrest them for murder, like I feel like what we need to do is be calling for the end of no-knock warrants. We need to be calling for the end of qualified immunity so that they can actually be held accountable, because what they did technically wasn't murder. You know what I'm saying? Like they legally went in there. They legally had gotten. I mean, an officer got shot. I think to him, he was laying in bed. People barge in. I would have fired a gun too if I felt like I was getting barged. You know what I'm saying? It's a shitty
totally
situation. It's a horrible
situation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like I agree. So, but to them, they got shot, and so they shoot back. Like, I'm just saying, technically, if we want to actually see something done, I feel like it would be way more productive to be calling for the ending of qualified immunity, the ending of, like, what did I just say? No-knock warrants. Like, Rand Paul, he introduced the Justice for Breonna Taylor Act, like, right after this happened, which would end no-knock warrants. I don't really know where I was going. Oh yeah, I know. I think that they need to be sued and fired, and like sued blind. And the police department should be sued, and there should be. That's why we need to go after qualified immunity, because like I just don't see the actual legal grounds for them to be put in jail. So I feel like that's not productive to call for that. You know what I'm saying? But
I think I don't know anything legally.
like that's
Like
to me,
I
it's
think
like it's
I
a
think
wrong for
they
dead
definitely
tort
did.
case.
They obviously are murderers, but like
Well, I mean, like by definition, because they took someone. Like I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And she shouldn't be dead.
yeah, she shouldn't be dead.
Right.
At all. They shouldn't.
I
Have
don't
been
know,
inside. They
like-
shouldn't have been in there in the first place. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and
But if we actually want to see something done, you have
yeah, are you trying to say like you think people should focus also at like they're not focusing enough on policy changes?
that, and I think that they need to be taken to court. They need to be sued,
Mm-hmm.
and the police department, because the police department made errors, etc. along the way. You know what I'm saying? That like this is a tort case, not a criminal case, from what I see. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And criminal would, I don't know, but I just feel like there's a lot of misinformation. So maybe I've gotten some of that, or maybe they have. I don't know, but. That's why I don't think that the police should be abolished. I was talking about the Libertarian Party and their stance on police. That's how I got all
really-
off on that. Sorry, I don't know.
I don't know about like I think that like the police should be like have like their funds like be used for other things within communities, because I think a lot of like impoverished communities, too much of the funds go towards police departments, and
I think those funds should just be completely. I don't think they should be re-put into some other government bureaucracy or welfare or anything like that. Like, I don't think that's the government's job. All of these community projects, I was
I
driving.
know that would probably be like the libertarian position
Yeah,
on that.
100%.
Yeah, but I think there's like a misunderstanding with people. Like, the reason why I'm explaining is I think sometimes people misunderstand the stance of like defund the police. It's like not every like there are some people who want the police abolished, but like
people are purposefully hijacking that and purposefully they're being purposefully ignorant to what people say when they say defund the police.
And
you know
I hate
what
that.
I'm saying?
I hate that.
Yeah,
I hate that so much.
Like,
I think more than anything, I'm just explaining it just so that people know. But like, I just think that's like the most annoying thing is whenever people like misrepresent that position, because it's like. Yeah, I do think at the end of the day there should be some form of law enforcement, but I think that the law enforcement should look different. And I think that there should be more... I think there should be like different pathways for resolution in some of these cases. Because sometimes
like
the law enforcement is... Yeah, and I think sometimes the law enforcement is called for like just arbitrary reasons, and then they just make the situation worse.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that I think they have too much power, obviously.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm
they
saying?
definitely do.
They're like a occupying force.
Yeah,
in many
it's like
cases.
we need I think we should probably end police unions.
And that partly
and all public sector unions, really. I mean, you're unionizing against the taxpayer for a public sector. Like, I don't know, but I think those unions protect them, and that's an issue. That's like a really big issue.
I think that also like the war on drugs is a huge factor in like the militarization of the police and the escalation of like their power. Mm-hmm. It's kind of as like a I mean, obviously I don't think that there's like a secret like conspiracy. Well, I mean, I think that there's like underlying reasons why things happen, but I also don't think there's like some sort of like secret like conspiracy. I just think that's just how power happens to work. Whenever you ramp them up and give them militarized equipment, they're going to act like a military.
Like
military.
Education also.
Yeah, and you don't really like give them any sort of like de-escalation tactics. Like literally, a police officer is trained less than way less than a doctor. Like a doctor,
or a lawyer who has to practice the law. Like a government can plead, a cop can plead ignorance to a law, but you can't. Like, they can arrest you for something, and they're like, oh, I thought you were breaking a law, so I just wanted to arrest you because I thought you were.
They have tons of immunity.
And then, but, like, I can't be breaking a law and being like, oh, I didn't realize that was a law, sorry.
Exactly. And it's
but
like,
they can.
Yeah, and that's the problem with it, because it's like, you give them so many resources, and you give them, like... And here's the thing, like, let's be real, the police acted like this. I think some people also are naive and say, like, the police acted like this like they don't say this, but they kind of act like this was like something that Trump did himself. No, it's just like that's our political system. They gave all this power to the police.
Give Trump way too much credit sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, also under Obama, a lot of the like when there were protests in different areas for Ferguson, there was also people who were being sent away in vans, and there were federal troops and stuff like that.
I was gonna say the
van thing is not
that
just
allowed that to be legal was an Obama era policy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
And that's another thing, like the children on the border thing, that happened during Obama as well. Mm-hmm. And people looked at him as like a beacon of hope or something like that.
His only controversy was the tan suit or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like the thing is, it's like that's the most frustrating thing for people on the left, and that was the one thing that like sort of like was one of the bigger hurdles because I liked Obama growing up, and then I realized like he was just a tool for the establishment. Like he was just sort of a
good mouthpiece.
He was a bait and switch, sort of like, oh well, he's different because he's African American. A lot of his policies were anti-African American. Like they're not like explicitly like I'm against African Americans, but they hurt those communities. And I'm not just saying that Trump is good. I'm just trying to say that like it's some of the things that they like also say that they say that's like solely Trump's issue. They like misrepresent, like that's just the nature of the system. Mm-hmm. It's working.
Except for it wasn't for like the 8 years that Obama, like everyone was quiet during Obama's administration.
Yeah, and they're yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But Trump's done kind of a lot for like criminal justice reform and stuff.
I do the criminal some of the criminal justice reform he did do. I actually did like that. I wish he would like do a little bit more of that in terms of like policies because I don't like any like much of any of his other policies. But it's like yeah, I do like if there's something that Trump does that's good, I'll say it's good because I focus on like policy. But like
I agree with that.
But very like much. As a whole, I don't like Trump or Obama or Bush or I don't really like most of the presidents to be honest. But
See how far back we can get.
Like honestly, I could go like back and back. I really don't like Bill Clinton. I really don't like him. But anyway.
Yeah, I remember like to get back to just like the presidents like Joe Jorgensen and even Tulsi like they're who. Like when I was little, because I kind of, like I said, was always kind of like around politics. Obviously, I was little and I wasn't like forming the best, well-educated opinions, etc. But I just remember having this vision of like the first female president, and then I remember Hillary Clinton in 2016 and just being like,
what?
That's not who I pictured being. Like that's not who little Cyerra was gonna look up to as like the first woman president. You know what I'm saying? Not that gender should even like matter, obviously. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like I was picturing like a badass lady like Tulsi or Joe Jorgensen, and so I definitely. Yeah. I mean, she was kind of phony, like absolutely, kind of like Kamala Harris, like an opportunist, very opportunist. I don't know. That's my impression, at least. Yeah. Very much means to the end or whatever, like the prince. Yep.
Machiavelli. Well, that's one of the reasons why I didn't like Buttigieg. He's very much like that. Like, he had like a plan for like how he was going to do everything in like not like in like a sinister sort of way, in like a self-serving sort of way, and like he doesn't really care, that sort of thing. But
he did give that,
which is funny because, like I said, his dad like wrote, I think a lot. Like he wrote on like different stuff that Noam Chomsky talked about and like expanded upon a bunch of like leftist like theory or something like that. If I remember correctly, he was like a professor in a college, and then his son just ends up being like a total tool for the establishment, which is so sad to think about.
That's cool. What are your guys' impression of? I kind of was like giving some insight to like what my impression of like progressive is, etc. Like what before this, at least, what was your impression of like libertarianism? Like when you saw the sign in my window, were you like, oh god?
No. Actually, when I saw the sign, I was excited.
Really?
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, he was excited.
Look.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Because like it was like a few nights before that, me and my fiance were thinking about just because we thought we had to think about, because Bernie wasn't the nominee, we were like, we don't want to vote for Joe Biden.
Right.
And we're definitely not voting for Trump.
Right.
And so we were like, well, let's look into like the other parties and the candidates. And we still need to look at like other parties and stuff. But like we went to the Libertarian one and I think the Green Party one.
Yeah, Howie or Hawk or something.
Yeah.
Like, what's his name? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I should
so
know.
I don't know. We looked up both candidates and we just, I don't know. It just didn't feel right for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there should be more than 3 political parties. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that she should be on the
really,
debates.
there's only 2.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. She wants to get on the debate stage, and they're like, well, hey, you have to reach this much in the polls before we'll let you on the debate stage. And she's like, okay, well, how much have I reached in the polls? And they're like, oh, well, we didn't put you in the polls. And it's like,
yeah, that's literally how it works.
It's literally impossible for her to get on the debate stage. Like, she's met the 270 electoral vote, the 3 or whatever, the 3-way, that requirement she's met now. She's on all 50 ballots officially.
Like, we need to have political party reformation in this country. Like how like we need to like increase the amount of like the chance that, or likelihood that like a party will get like more votes, because I feel like in the system we have right now there's a lot of like hurdles that a party has to go through before it becomes somewhat legitimate.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Because this isn't just like, this is like, people don't realize like in other countries they don't have this issue in terms of like political parties, but we're basically set up to have a 2-party system.
It's mostly because of the winner take all.
Yeah, that's the reason why.
Set up from like each thing. I mean, in other countries they have like a proportion of a percentage, and it's given to a party. Because it mirrors the population, of what people vote for.
Right.
But then this winner take all system, it eventually becomes a 2-party race of going back and forth between the two.
I feel like if there was a year that the Libertarian Party should be doing better, it's this year, and they're still struggling, so that just really proves what you're saying, I feel like, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many people who don't like either option, like more so than 2016.
Yeah, I feel like this year it's like more apparent and more aware because of what happened in 2016, and it's still happening, and then more people are getting even more frustrated with it. So it's just like now it's more like the best time ever to like do some kind of reform.
I think if anything, I would say I'm trying to be more looking towards more like movement-based politics and like organizing people, because I feel like in our system that is more effective in pushing leaders, local or otherwise, to get to a point, because it's like just electing people is just kind of like, the system sucks, the way we have it right now. So I feel like a lot of direct actions a lot more effective in many ways.
Yeah, of course, I agree with
But
that.
but I guess my impression of like libertarians was like they're cooler than Republicans. Like they're like chill, like they're like,
everyone says like the Republicans but smoke weed or something like that. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say they're like kind of like they're like
socially liberal, fiscally conservative. Like, I don't really like, that was one thing specifically that like Jacob Hornberger would be like, we're libertarians, not socially liberal, fiscally conservative type independents or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's its own thing for sure. To me, it just seems like the default. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Constitution was written. These are the powers of the government. You have these rights that pre-exist government. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just seems like the most basic, like, I don't know, to me, at least, I don't know. I think the difference in the parties is the difference in what they think the purpose of the government is, and like what the government's job is.
There are like a lot of things obviously that like I guess I disagree with libertarians, but I feel like libertarians are like cooler in the fact that like
just want
that
you to do you.
Whenever like, what'd you say?
We just want you to do you, as long as it's not getting in the way of me doing me. Yeah, but it's like,
the thing I like about libertarians that I don't like about conservatives, I feel like libertarians like give you a better chance to like portray your talking points, and whereas conservatives kind of like a lot of times they give like a lot of really terrible like they have like a lot of like bad like tactics whenever they're discussing things with you, and they try to make you out to be an evil person.
I think that's true on both. I think that's an issue with like
it's true with a lot of Democrats.
If you disagree with me, then you're evil.
Yeah, and the same thing with Democrats and neolibs too.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why I like libertarians. Because they're almost like it's like I wouldn't consider like I feel like they're more political allies to a lot of people on the left than many people would like even realize, because it's like, dude, like the two parties suck and we both hate them, and there's many policy issues in which we agree on. So like they're way more our allies, I feel like, than people who are like obstacles to get over. I feel like in our system. So it's like I don't really have ill will towards like people who are Republicans or Democrats. It's just more like I kind of groan at like what the rhetoric they throw my way. You know what I'm saying? Like it's more like okay.
Yeah.
Like I like the person, I like people, and I love the people of this country. It's just like they like people who identify as Democrat or people who identify as Republicans make me sort of groan and me frustrated. And I was like, okay, well we can't really talk about this, can we? You know, that sort of thing.
That's the issues. If we're gonna agree on like the end goal or agree on the fundamentals of the argument, like when I'm talking to some people on the right or some people on the left, like we just don't even agree on the pretext, so we can't even debate.
Yeah, that's the problem I have
because
with
we
a
don't
lot of
even
people
agree
who are
here,
Democrats
you know
or Republicans.
Yeah, 100%. And then what you said too, just like if we disagree, then I hate you or whatever, or you're evil, and I'm just not even gonna hear you out. Like for sure, that's an issue. The non-starter whole thing.
And you're not gonna get anywhere if you don't try to make some sort of political alliances or try to like actually like focus on things that you agree on within like politics. And that's the thing that really upsets me about some people. It's just like, dude, try to like build coalitions and not try to divide further, because that's not going to help you.
It's a tactic to divide, of course, to divide people. That's like, to me it seems kind of like
we're more useful to the establishment if we're divided than if we are.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
If we're not united.
Yeah, like they need you to feel like there's chaos, so that you vote them in to fix the chaos or whatever. So they create the chaos or whatever. Like, what was that? I don't know, Jake Gyllenhaal movie where he goes and creates the car crashes to take. He's like a reporter.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah, like they know they got to create the chaos and keep this image of chaos so that you vote them into office to fix the chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
That's both sides do it for sure. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah.
That was a crazy movie.
So, okay. I want to ask you about what you think about like the what did you say about the Americans for Liberty or whatever?
Oh, I mean, technically that's not like I'm pretty sure that's technically if you were to go poll those people, they would probably all identify as Republicans.
So, like, what's the difference between them and the campus Republicans, then?
It's just I think that they're, like, Republicans are, like, dedicated to, like, the Republican Party. That group, I think, is more dedicated to just, like, spreading the ideas of specifically the Constitution, you know what I'm saying, and small government ideas. I don't know.
That's so confusing to me.
If you look up the founder of it, I'm, like, almost certain it's a Republican.
Like a card-carrying Republican.
It's a conservative founded group.
Wow.
I don't think that
is interesting.
I don't think they like try to appeal to just conservatives, but if you get to its roots.
I mean, they were cool with this. I like them better than the campus Republicans, to be honest.
I believe
most
that.
definitely.
The campus Republicans always get like an air of like they just want to like misrepresent our ideas sort of thing.
They're very aggressive.
They're very aggressive.
They call us communists.
Yeah, I'm just like,
well,
okay.
You guys call yourself socialists, like casually. Do you guys mean that?
Like, I think on the political spectrum, we're technically on the socialist scale.
So how would you guys?
I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it? How would you like define that for you? Like not for you. Like what? Like just.
I don't know. I just somehow lines up with the ideals that like I'm okay with all this stuff. I'm not like I'm a socialist now. I gotta like look for socialized ideals. I just like it happens to be that way.
I think the biggest misconception about people who aren't socialists looking at people who are socialists is that they have a lot of preconceived notions about what socialism is and what it looks like.
I do think that's true. For sure.
And so whenever you say that word, like I'm not going to identify with the word communism because of that. It's very, very loaded. And a lot of times if someone's like identifying as a communist, it sort of indicates that you're more of the like authoritarian, like a left authoritarian sort of thing, like a tanky, like a Stalin apologist.
Yeah.
Which I am not. That
No,
I think Stalin's a terrible person.
All about
But that's the thing that people do a lot. I mean, have there been people who I've met who are tankies? Yes, I have met people. I guess that's a derogatory term to those people, but like, I met people who are like who sort of had apologetics for Stalin? Yes, but like I don't rock with them. I don't really like agree with them at all, and that's the thing that's annoying. It's like people have a preconceived notion of you a lot of times if you say that you're socialist, that you like, oh, well, you must like X, Y, and Z. Like, no, there's different schools of thought in socialism, like there's different schools of thought within libertarianism, and everything like that. But like, yeah, I guess like the only reason why I would say that I don't even like I'm pretty hesitant to label myself anything, but like if I was to be technically, if I was to be technical, yes, I would be socialist because it's like I did a political, like I even did like, obviously that's not exactly like the hard set like way of finding out who you are, but like I did a political compass. I'm like -8 on the left and then -8 on the like.
I think that's like the maximum.
Freedom scale.
Right.
That's not the maximum. It was near the maximum. Maximum's like 10.
You were like one off.
Yeah, or like 2 or something like that. But like, if I think my politics were close to Noam Chomsky and then also like Karl Marx. They're like between. They're like Noam Chomsky was down here, Karl Marx was right here, and then I was like right here. So,
wow.
Karl Marx is obviously on the full left of the scale.
Right.
And then like, yeah. So like, yeah. That's the thing that's the most annoying about people who are like don't know anything about socialists is that like they end up demonizing you because of the system that we live in, and they end up like making you out to be someone who doesn't love America or doesn't love American people.
Yeah.
Americans, like I love Americans. I just don't like our system. I don't like the system of like our system of government. I don't like the way corruption happens so easily within our government.
I mean,
I want to fix it.
You could argue that within socialism, corruption happens.
Oh yeah, for sure,
like,
for sure. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna say that that doesn't happen. But I'm saying like, I just don't. I want to try to fix things.
Right.
But then whenever people when they hear that label, they have a preconceived notion that you like want to destroy society or something. It's just like doesn't make any sense to me.
Like, could you tell me what it is to you?
What is what?
Like socialism. Like to me, I guess I think of like redistribution and of the government having like much more control over like socialized programs. You know what I'm saying? Like universal health care and all of those things. Like I don't really agree with
I get what you're saying.
Stuff.
Well, the thing about that is that the reason it's redistribution is because like the way I see it is socialists see it as it's not in the right place
to begin with.
It's not like you need to redistribute it every now and then. No, we're thinking like it's not in the right place at all.
Yeah.
And so we need to bring it back to a more of a community setting.
Like
not necessarily government, but more of a people say. How people are governed.
I know exactly what you're saying. I think,
Yeah. So, in terms of economics, which is a little bit different than politics. You get this like ability to control the means of production and the means of distribution, all within the say of the people that, like, labor and stuff like that.
Like, how is that different from capitalism? Like, the capitalism is for the worker.
The difference in that versus capitalism would be that there's someone in charge, almost.
Okay.
And so the people in charge get to say what's going on, and
But
the
those
work.
people-
Well, we're talking about the workers being in charge.
Yes.
Democratization.
I thought that,
That's
like,
what I mean.
I was wondering, like, like having X amount of workers required on the board of whatever, et cetera, stuff
that
like
would
that.
be.
But to me, like, what about this
socialist.
scenario where, so you have workers who are on the board. I was just like, what about, like, a situation where you've got, half the board are workers of this company or whatever, and then it comes, like, basically there's this, you have X amount of money now, and the board needs to decide what it's going to do. Should it go towards expanding the salary of all the people, or should it go towards R&D to where we can develop the whole company, a long-term goal? Like, don't you see issues coming where, like...
Actually, that is seen as, like, it must be this or that. But the problem in capitalism is that those two can be something that is necessary, needs to be done. But instead of doing that, companies would rather... give back to shareholders, and instead of, like, giving back to the company, like putting your profits back into the company and investing more into that, they invest more into the shareholders, and then it becomes, away from, like, the people who were actually laboring into the company.
But, like, those people could quit. No one's forcing those people to work there. Like, that's why I think the free market is so... Like,
they could quit, but then they would find another place that does the same thing.
And then they could go, if there's a hole in the market, if they're noticing that, then they can, if they're seeing, like, actual, like, discrimination happening against them, they can take them to court, or they can...
Well, the only issue that I have with that is that, like, within our system, you need a lot of money to take someone to court.
I understand.
So, you see what I'm saying?
That is fair. No, I do totally see what you're saying with that, yeah. I just think, like, to me, like, I almost don't even... agree with, like, any kind of discrimination employment laws. Like, if someone wants to fire me because I have a girlfriend, I don't want the government to force that person to employ me. And I think that if I found out that my local grocery store or whatever was not serving black people, I just wouldn't shop there. I wouldn't want them to be forced to serve. Like, that would put them out of business. You know what I'm saying? The free market would take care of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that we need a more freer market, which I guess you guys are saying.
We want more democratization of the market. We view, I think the difference between the way people who aren't socialists and people who are socialists view, like, how the economy is handled, is that for some reason I think a lot of socialists get the idea that, like, we're just allocating it in a different hierarchy. No, we want more democratization. We want more people having a say in their lives rather than it being dictated by basically, like, corporations, which can at some points, if they're, like, huge monopolies or, like, huge just conglomerates, can somewhat become an oppressive force, an oppressive, almost like a government sort of thing. And because they have a lot of say on our lives. That's
like, I feel like that those issues come from the government in the first, but, like, giving them so much, like I'm not cool, like, I talk about, I'm kind of against, like, social welfare programs, but just as much, like, corporate welfare
oh yeah, no, I'm
like,
totally against corporate.
Like, I feel like that's where all those problems are coming from, is because they can buy out politicians and stuff like that and get all this power. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and we're pretty much against, I would say I'm pretty much against, like, corporate welfare. Because it's like you're taking all this money from the people to give it to a corporation that's just failing. And I'm with the workers of that company. I think that, like they should be helped in an economic situation, but not the company. Like, the company should not be, like, you're at that point, you're just giving the money and they're going to where are they going to put that money? They're going to give it to their shareholders. A lot of the
That
time.
makes I see. No, I get that perspective. I totally get that perspective. For
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
And I think that is many times misrepresented within, like, when people are talking about socialists. It's just like they think that we're for that for some reason, or we're for, like, a corporate welfare sort of situation, I feel like sometimes. When no, that's not the case. We're for the people.
Yeah, like I hear that, and I hear, to me, that's what capitalism is. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? So that's just, we just, clearly, I think we agree. That's this is what I'm saying. We agree on the same thing. It's just we're talking about the different ways to get there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how we can have this good conversation. Where some people are like, no, I don't want the working man to come out on top. I want the crony to stay on top.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, we're not even going to be able to agree on our end goal. We can't discuss anything else, you know? So I agree with you for sure on that.
Yeah.
I do agree with that.
I guess, and the thing that's interesting, I think, about, like, libertarians and socialists is we're kind of, I think many socialists are in the anti-hierarchical sort of mindset. They're sort of like hierarchy and stuff like that. They're more for personal freedom.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I think that
a lot of
makes
socialists are
sense.
more for personal freedom.
Yeah, that's definitely what I would say. I mean, I'm definitely more for individualism than collectivism. I definitely agree very much with, like, volunteerism. That's what I think should kind of... I think that if we didn't have such a strong, you know, state, I think private entities would step up way more, but...
Okay, so your original question was that, like, what do we define socialism as?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I think, like, the difference between, like, libertarians and then, like, socialists is that, you know, we're both for the people, but it's just yours is more individually rather than a community helping out individuals.
I think
that's our different take.
That does
on
make
it.
sense. Yeah.
That would be our different take, because the way we see it is the community as a whole benefits.
Yeah.
And then, like, you give back down to the people and then help them out. And then, like, libertarians, like, the market will help out
We'll
the
just
community.
take care of it.
You know?
Yeah. Like,
So
that's
I
something
see
that, like,
that
I feel
difference.
like I was like when you came out and you were like, is that your Jorgensen sign? I was like, he's gonna tell me that, like, I'm evil because I don't think, you know, people should have universal health care or something. It's like, libertarians don't think that you should have easy access to health care. That's not the thing. We absolutely think you should have easy access to health care, and that's it. You know, and something that everyone should have access to. But we just don't think the government is the best vehicle for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
I guess the one thing, though, I think that's somewhat misrepresented, though, about, like, the implementation of, like, of a healthcare system that's like a single payer or something like that. Like, the government, like, the people who are in the hospitals aren't like government workers. It's still like a...
You would turn them into government workers.
Well, like in Canada, or not, France, there's still private institutions, but it's government funded sort of thing. Whereas, like, it's different than the NHS, which is in Britain, where it's like literally that's like another arm of the government.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So, like, there's different ways of implementation, and it's not like a direct. That's the government in the system, like, working in it. It's just one's funded and the other one's not. The other one's like the actual government. So, like, I think that's one thing that's somewhat misrepresented as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it should be tied up with the government or employers or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it should be how you buy car insurance or renter's insurance. I think that, again, the free market would, I mean, there would be price competition. There would be policies made for, like, I have a renter's insurance policy and a car insurance policy that fits me, that I can afford. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would be able to find insurance that...
I guess the reason why a lot of, like, socialists wouldn't agree with that, because we view it as, like, inherently, like, predatory, in the fact that, like, if your life's on the line, they're gonna, like, a lot of people will take advantage of that fact of, like, you know, you need to pay, like, you'll go into debt in order to save your life. Whereas, like, we kind of want more, like, control over that, so that people don't have to pay, like, go into, like, huge amounts of debt just because they're, you know what I'm saying?
I agree with that too. I totally agree with that, but that's again, I think, because of, like, government regulation that has driven down competition, and now they have these monopolies on like the cost of healthcare and like pharmaceuticals and stuff. Like,
I feel like when the market just like eventually like turn into like monopolies or like duopolies, if you left it to its own devices at some point, it would just naturally get to that point.
I don't think. I mean, I don't have any reason to believe that.
I think that's the one thing that confuses me on that.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like there wouldn't be so much choice or like.
I think there's more
fair
choice because of free markets. That creates competition. I mean, you see a hole in the market and someone's able to come and fill that. You know, like that's why here there's like you talk to someone from another country and something they'll mention is how many different kinds of brands of coffee we have and all the different brands of this we have in our just grocery stores and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like the choice is definitely a key benefit of the free market, I would say. But I do I agree, like someone shouldn't be dead because they can't afford to, but I don't think that like I don't think you have a right to anything that I don't think you have a right to anyone else's goods or services. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a right to something that someone else has to make or provide to you. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it gets tricky. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
I guess you kind of like. I guess libertarians as a whole kind of view healthcare more as a commodity, whereas like for us, it's like I guess we view it more as like it's something you need.
There is
like,
that argument because of the non-aggression principle too. There is that like group within the Libertarian Party who says, well, that's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what I think is very core. So some people would argue like that's infringing on life and the pursuit of happiness if you to stay alive have to be $600,000 in debt or whatever. I agree. I 100% agree there's something wrong with the healthcare system. 1,000 billion% agree with that. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know why I'm trying to act like I do, but I don't know. We just
I guess I was more confused about like how like that stuff worked in terms of like libertarian healthcare, or like how some.
Well, like, could you imagine if like your car insurance had to pay for like filling up your gas tank and your oil changes and all of that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think the whole healthcare and insurance system should be rethought. You know what I'm saying? Which you guys agree with that? You know what I'm saying? So we agree that there's an issue, for sure. And that's what I respect about having conversations with people like you. Is like, I know you guys are coming from a good, like, you just want people to have health. Like, you just want people to be alive and happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want too. So like, I know that's where you guys are coming from. So I respect that a lot, for sure. For sure.
I guess the one thing I really hate about like debating with people who are like, I don't know, centrists or whatever you may call it in terms of like their political ideology. It's just like you don't know whether or not they like believe in actual like wanting, like if they actually like really care about giving people health care. Whereas like if I debate with you about stuff like that, it's like I feel like you do actually care about it.
Yeah, there's like this misconception that like as a libertarian, like I just want you to like, fend for yourself, like you're on your own, I don't care about you, I don't think that you deserve to live if you can't figure out how to get yourself to be alive and well. Like, you know, like I think everyone deserves life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. You know what I'm saying? Like I absolutely agree with those things. I agree with that. There's people who you come from different perspectives, and it's just like they're so caught up in the teams of their parties and everything like that. It's just, I hear you, for sure. It's about the people, like you said multiple times throughout this, for sure.
Cool thing about the left is we're kind of like a non-team. We're a non-team team.
Right.
We've got people who are all over the spectrum on the left. We're just broadly put
That's why it's hard to come up with like a general idea of what we want.
Yeah,
that's why there's so much infighting.
You see that. Yeah, you do see that, for sure. That's gotta be so frustrating from your guys' point of view, probably.
Yeah, it is.
It's very
like there's those who are super like you need to read more theory, like you need to read more socialist theory, and like, well, okay. Like there's people who are super like into like you reading more literature, and there are people who are literally just like very simplistic in how they believe, and sort of like I feel like I'm one that like I do like to read about like theories and stuff like that, and like like stuff like like Noam Chomsky and stuff like that, or whatever. I like reading the basis of like where my ideology comes from, but at the end of the day, like I'm putting policy first and then thinking about the theory later,
Right.
and it makes me really frustrated when people are like talk a lot about like making a more socialist like country, or like making a more socialist like system within our country, but they're only talking about like theory and like how like reading by the book how we should implement this. I'm just like, dude,
you guys just look up for a second.
like, could you it's like, yeah, for real. It's just like it's that's the thing that frustrates me about other people on the left, that there's some people who are very like talkative about like what they believe, but yet they don't do anything about it.
I've tried to have, like, if I see someone post, something on their story or whatever, and I'm like, why do you think this or whatever, like, I've had some really, really good productive conversations by just doing that. And then sometimes someone will just be like you said earlier, like just being a mouthpiece for their establishment or whatever, and they're just spewing these like headlines at me basically, and I'm just like, you don't know what you're even fighting for right now, do you? You don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're posting all these things and you really don't know what you want at all.
Exactly. No, I agree with that.
That's bad. It's bad look for sure.
I think that's the one thing that's so upsetting to me about like the left is there's so much. There's a lot of infighting, I think.
And it would be one thing if they could just like, from my perspective as someone who doesn't identify with the left, you know what I'm saying? Like take it with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
But like, to me, it seems like if they could, it makes all of their positions seem less valid because you have 20 different definitions of the same. Like this person on the left is going to define it as this, whereas someone else on the left will define it different. It's like,
and I think
you guys just need to come up with your own separate thing, so that you sound more valid, I guess.
I think part of the issue is like I think some of the issue is like we're kind of like anti-hierarchical, and so we all do our own thing, sort of. We
true.
We all kind of just do our own thing, and then we don't organize, and that's I think something that in the future I think the left will get better at that in the future. I think they're going to get better at organizing because of the political climate we're in and how it's like sort of like shifting. But like that is the biggest issue. We do not organize around specific issues, and also like I said before, some people aren't willing to organize with people who like I don't feel like this is the majority. I think I think there's a lot of people who are a lot more accepting.
There's a loud minority on the left.
There is a loud minority of people, though.
Loud.
I will agree. There's a lot of minority of people who are totally exclusionary of like libertarians or whatever in their movement. When it's like that's totally antithetical to what our belief is. We're for the people. We're for regardless of what that person believes. We're for your well-being. We're for if you are with us on this policy, we should unite behind it and organize.
And if you're not with us, we still want you to be.
We still want you to be okay.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
That used to be like.
There's
there's
definitely a loud minority of people on the left, and I think it's like that on the right too, because there's like also a loud minority of people who are like. I think some of it's growing, but like there's a loud minority of people who are like. The intense like Trumpers and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's like Trump delusion on both sides. Like in two different ways, it's bad.
But that's the thing that's upsetting. I don't really, from most of the people I've known on the left, they aren't like that. They're very inclusionary. It's just that the loudest people are the people who like people like Ben Shapiro or whatever react like people who are like commentators on this issue. They use them. They use them as like the figureheads of the left. When it's like, no, we don't even care about that person.
You'll hear like I don't know how much you guys try to listen to like different stuff, but like it's really amusing to see like Ben Shapiro's take on something, and then the guys from Pod Save America's take on the same exact.
Oh, Pod
thing.
Save America, them, dude.
They're hard to listen to.
They're
sometimes.
so.
What do you guys listen to? What do you guys listen to, like on your daily or whatever?
I listen to let's see.
If anything.
Thought Slime is really cool. He's a anarcho socialist.
But
Same thing as me. I really
What do you
like
mean listen to?
Just like
Leftist.
whenever you're gonna put on a podcast,
Secular
you get
talk?
the week's news or anything like that.
I also really like secular
I
talk.
don't listen to like strictly political. I listen to Richard Wolff.
Oh,
Okay.
Richard Wolff's cool. I like him.
Democracy Now is what it's called. It's on YouTube.
I haven't.
So
heard
Check
that.
out Richard Wolff. He's
you should look
I
that
will.
up. He's a economic socialist,
Okay.
and
Which is
he's a highly respected professor in like the New England area.
Right.
I don't remember what university he
Right.
teaches at, but he wrote a book on introduction to Marxism and then an introduction to socialism.
Okay.
And those are I've been wanting to get one of those books.
Right. Yeah.
But
Definitely.
you know,
Do you guys have
money.
like Audible or anything like that? I listen to books a lot.
No, I don't have that.
Other than those, do you guys have any book recommendations or anything like that?
I guess more of my recommendations would be like YouTubers or something like that. But I need to get more into like books that I specifically like. Do you have any books you?
I mean, right now I'm reading books.
He's reading.
I don't know if I should recommend them to you, but right now I'm reading the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx,
Right.
and then there's the biography of Karl Marx, which is a very interesting transition read, because you find out about the person and then you read their work and then you understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, that is interesting.
That's why I don't really like talking about Marxist theory, because it was developed by people after him on his work. It's
I hadn't really thought of it like that. That's definitely true.
I guess I would recommend there's a lot of things that you would probably definitely disagree with Thought Slime, but he's really fun to listen to because he's also really funny. He also has another channel called Scaredy Cats, which he also talks about horror movies. That's his non-political channel, but he also talks about different stuff that's kind of with his politics. Regarding that, I also I really like Renegade Cut as well. Renegade Cut's cool. Secular Talk, I that was sort of my introductory person for progressivism or leftist thinking, but he's a little bit more on the right than me. He's not he wouldn't ever call himself a capitalist, but he's also he's a social democrat kind of thing. He doesn't regard himself as a Democrat, but he's also because he always criticized the Democrats and he always criticized the Republicans.
Oh yeah.
But he's kind of I guess he would be a little bit where Bernie's at, I would say. But I listen to him pretty much every day still. I mean, he's actually pretty awesome in terms of his his political instincts and his strategies. He's a good strategist. There's another dude who did a video on Ben Shapiro, and it was an iconic video. There's the one where he goes, "One problem, Ben." Have you seen that one where he was where are the people going to move whenever the ocean comes in? Or the Aquaman guy.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that guy's a leftist.
Video,
that guy's a leftist guy, but I forgot exactly what that quote was. That's hilarious. But he criticized Ben Shapiro on one video, and that was sort of the thing he blew up on. And then he's a good guy, but I forgot his name.
I can't remember the quote either. I know what you're talking about. That was so funny.
No, he said, "One problem, Ben. Who's going to buy houses that are in the ocean?"
Right.
Aquaman.
Right. He was talking about how I think it was about the hurricane, wasn't it? And it's well, if people don't want to live there, then sell the house.
And then he was talking about climate change and how the water's encroaching.
The water's sea level's rising and it's encroaching onto the property. And Ben Shapiro's argument for that was just sell your home. That's it. Just sell your house. And then the guy was just one problem with that. Who's gonna buy it?
Aquaman.
I get it for sure.
That's so funny. He's cool though. He's actually has a lot of really good arguments and a lot of really good talking points. But in terms of literature, I'm kind of a little baby in terms of that. I don't really read. I get a lot more information from people who are talking about theory and stuff like that.
I would totally read one of your guys' books if you felt challenged to read a Rand Paul book.
Rand Paul. Oh, yeah, okay.
You should do it. And then we could talk about both of them.
That'd be cool.
Definitely. Because, we're planning on reading a book, actually. It's on technocracy.
Technocracy, that's an interesting one, too. It's an interesting ideology.
I forgot his name. We just found it. And, we're going to, probably in a month or so, talk about it when we finish up reading it.
Yeah.
But it's, basically the European Union and technocracy and how it's involving it somehow. I don't know. I don't know the book.
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
So
that sounds interesting.
I mean, if you want to read that, we can we can have you on here and
sure. I mean,
and have your take on the ideology of technocracy.
Sure.
It's not something that we agree with or anything like that. It's just something that we were going to say our perspectives on.
Yeah, I've never heard of it until you brought it up. So
yeah.
No, that sounds interesting.
We're gonna see in a month.
If there was another one more specific to your guys' ideals, I'd read that too.
Well, we could also give her.
I want to read those books.
Mm-hmm.
There's also Noam Chomsky. I guess aligns with a lot of our ideals, I guess. But I can't think of a specific book I would recommend to you.
That's okay.
That would be Noam Chomsky, but I could find one and probably give it to you.
We could text exchange.
Yeah, and then there's also, I guess there's Zizek that we could also talk about too in terms of leftist thinkers and writers. So Zizek's hilarious. It's just annoying to hear him talk. You know Zizek?
No.
Oh, you
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, I know.
Unless I do, just don't recognize the name.
He's the guy who
Eastern European guy.
Yeah, he was a lisp.
Who's just
Vice did an interview with him, and he was like, "So do people like you around here?" He's like, "No, everybody hates me."
No, everyone hates me. Nobody loves me.
He has this lisp thing though, where he he spits a little bit when he talks, so it's annoying to watch him talk. But if you get past that, he's actually really intelligent, really cool guy.
Hopefully he doesn't read his Audible book, because I would probably just get it on Audible.
Yeah, there's a documentary by him I'd like to watch, so maybe that's another project we could do.
Yeah, we can.
Cool.
That would be. I could come and be your guys'.
It'd be a cool segment.
Perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's cool. Well, this was really fun though.
Yeah.
Seriously.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having this conversation with me. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, that's been our show. Thank y'all for listening. Social Q out.